what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim here with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and welcome to another episode of the Power Hour Podcast.
Yes, hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 267. Thank you for joining us tonight. Boy, can I not wait to talk about the gaming news of the week. Thank God that nothing else has gone on in the past week that is worth talking about. Yep, nothing but fun old gaming here.
Jim just had his nice series of bad takes that were immediately disproven. He's like, shit, I shouldn't have tweeted that. Shit, I shouldn't have tweeted that.
Doesn't matter. It's all about engagement. I don't care how I get it. It doesn't fucking matter. I am no role model or thought leader.
It's been a fun week, Jim. It's been, lots going on, you know?
Yeah. But, Bri, speaking of things going on, what have you been playing?
This week has been, I don't even know. I have done zero Fallout. I did a little bit on my Switch. I actually went into Call of Duty again for a little bit. And my son, once again, pulled me back into Fortnite because he wants me to unlock Magneto for him. So, as I'm playing, of course I'm going to do that.
Yeah, Brian and I saw each other this weekend, so as I was waiting for him to get ready, his son was coming up to me. He's just like, I have Magneto in Fortnite, where he's in there now. Do you know Magneto? I was like, yeah, from the X-Men. He's like, no, he's from Marvel, the Marvel pack in Fortnite. I was like, kids.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, outside of that, like I said, I've been playing Warhammer. I am almost done that Serial Cleaner, the first game to the Serial Cleaners game, which I talked about. But I would say it's been a pretty light week. I think just between craziness at work and then just this whole weekend was chock filled with activities, which I'm sure we'll get to in a minute.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just been balls busy. Got home shit going on. So, yeah, I'm actually, like, in that mode where I'm desperate to play, which is why I think I just picked up Call of Duty, because I'm like, I need something I can just do 10-minute sessions really quick. So, yeah, how about you, Chambers?
Haven't played a goddamn thing. Haven't touched a single video game all week. Like, one night I had band practice, and, like, kind of every night this week I had something going on. So, it was one of those weeks like you. It's just one thing after another. I did finally get around to buying Postal 2 on Steam with the expansion. So, it's a sale right now, so it's like $1.50.
I was going to say, you got it with the summer deal, right?
Yes, I did.
Yep.
So,
I love Steam with those summer sales.
I mean, you really can't beat it. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, no, I do plan on trying to start that this week.
I really can't wait for you to try that, because it's got your sense of humor, our sense of humor, I'll say, the South Park sense of humor for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's not challenging, and the gameplay, like you said, I just want to see your take, like if you're over that kind of humor or if you actually get some giggles out of it.
Yeah, no, I have to say, because it's a fine line these games have to walk. Like,
Yeah.
like I talked about it before, but like Sunset Overdrive, like I absolutely loved the gameplay in that game. But the comedy and dialogue and everything was so try-hard. I was like, oh, God. Like, and I mean, like, I don't really care about story in general, but these ones, I was like, oh, God, please give me a skip button. For the love of God, don't make me sit through this.
Well,
the guy from the Melvins is here. That's cool. Oh, God, they're making it cringe. Oh, God, what are they doing?
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, so you can appreciate when Postal came out and keep that context in your mind. Kind of like if anyone went back to older episodes of South Park, they would be like, oh, this is cliche. Like, it's that same, it's like, well, it wasn't when it first came out, so you got to kind of know that going into it. But, no, like I said, I'm very curious. I don't want to give any spoilers or try to lead you down a path. I'm very curious. Yeah, Steam definitely got another $20 or $30 out of me, which got me like a ton of games.
Well, I was gonna say, what you get, like 700 games for that much?
Yeah, it's there's just, yeah, you see price points into like below $1 or under $2, and you're like, how can I not like just get this shit? But Jim, I mean, you are a big spender after all.
Fuck. So an old college buddy of ours, our buddy Gunn, reached out his wife's birthday. It's like, hey, come down to the city, you bastards, and drink with me. So me and Brian, our wives, we went down there, and Logan Square in Center City, Philadelphia area, right around the Parkway, for anyone who knows that. Whew, I forgot how expensive Center City can get. Oh, my fucking God.
Yeah. Just to give context, like I work downtown, not in that particular area, but I do work in like Old City, and I go out to a fair amount of happy hours, but I'm not going to no uber bougie places. I'm going to more regular bars where it's still expensive compared to like a regular run of the mill pub or something you might have. And some nights I'm like, damn, I dropped like $80. This is crazy. Last night was an eye opener for Jim and I. Let's just say Jim could have his PS5.
I would. So, quick update on the PS5 front. A guy in work I know is really good with electronics, so he's going to try and fix mine. But, yeah, I would be well on my way to another PS5 right now with the money I spent last night. Holy God.
Listen, fellas, if you're out at places like this, best thing you can do is really figure out the true price of shit, especially if you go off menu. And if you're with your wife, you set a limit and you stick to it. That's all I can suggest.
Yeah, and if they give you the menu
Poor
and
Jim.
everything looks like it's $20 a piece, do not go, oh, maybe I'll try a couple different things. Just go for the beer. It'll be $9 a bottle and completely overpriced, but it's still just $9 a bottle. By the end of the night, Brian was like, why are you switching to beer? And I was like, I think I'm about to see. And then like I finished my night with like 2 beers, and they were like $9 a piece for fucking Sierra Nevada. And then when the bills came, he was like, oh, that's why.
Yeah, it was a shocker for all of us. I'll say that. But cool, very cool place. Can't recommend the view enough. It is an awesome view.
Yeah, what was it called? The Assembly Rooftop or something like that?
Yeah, Assembly Rooftop. And yeah, we all threw back a pretty decent amount, which I do love. It's my wedding go-to, and it's like if I know I'm going to have a lot of mixed drinks, like just gin with tonic or gin with whatever, I never seem to have a hangover, like whatsoever. And last night was another tried and true proof of it. I felt fine this morning.
Yeah, I started with a couple different drinks that they had on the menu, and then I went to the gin and tonics with everyone else. That Hendrix gin was goddamn good.
Yeah.
That was super smooth.
Yeah, I think we both started with like bourbon drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I woke up at like 5:30 in the morning, and I was kind of like, ugh. But then like after an Excedrin and a milk thistle and like another hour of sleep, I was fine. So
God damn it, Jim.
milk thistle, it's always there when I need it. And here I am back to drinking again.
Well, I was gonna say, so what are you drinking your blues away with today?
I am drinking from the Erie Brewing Company their Cherry Bomb Sour Cherry Ale. So
Ooh, I like Erie a lot.
only 4.4% alcohol, so this is a very light one. And
Bitch.
I think I did enough drinking last night.
Bitch.
I think I put enough alcohol in my fucking system, but yeah, I mean it's very red when you look at it from the glass. The head dissipates almost immediately. It's very clear. I mean it's a light sipper. It's good. It's almost kind of light and lacking in the flavor department. Like I was expecting way more sour and way more cherry. It almost kind of tastes like a flat cherry wine.
Okay.
So it's good. Don't get me wrong.
From Erie, I've enjoyed. I haven't tried that one, so
yeah, like it's damn good. It's just like compared to like other sour cherry kind of things, it's a little bland, but it's still like enjoyable.
little underwhelming.
Yeah.
So I'm still going through fall, Christmas like backlogs, which I've been pretty good about. I've cleared out a lot, but these I'm gonna fuck it up. Mick Chouffets, this Belgian brand from the Brassiere d'Achafou. I know I'm butchering that, but it's the Gnome beer. So if you're ever in a beer store and you see the Gnome ones, this came from a variety pack. This is their Belgian brown beer at 8%, which most brown, and I'll say, it's funny, it only says brown beer. Oh, Jim, here you go. It's got something just for you.
Dukenfuken Blackensprachen.
Among the mythical characters living in fairyland, some are more unusual than others. Malcolm, for example, is different because of his accent and his kilt. When it comes to his beer, his favorite is Mount Chipho. The delicious flavors of aniseed, licorice, and toffee tickle his taste buds. If you listen to him, he will boast of its ruby sparkle, its smooth bitterness, and its strong character. Worthy of his native Scotland, although robust, Mick Chipho goes down as easily as La Chipho. So, yeah, it's strong as shit for a brown ale. Every brown beer now on the camera it looks black for some reason. It actually is very brown. It's just like it's thick. There's no transparency to it. But it's everything that description says. It's one of those ones where you taste the booziness. And if you don't like booziness in your beer, then you will not like this one. I kind of like it. The only problem I have with boozy beers is they kind of warm you up. And in this shit dick sweating weather, not the best time to be drinking this. Luckily, I'm in my house, so I don't have to worry about it. But I would never recommend this outside because this would be killer.
$350 electric bill I had last month because of this goddamn month-long heat wave. The AC just never turns off.
Yeah, I think I was there. No, actually, I might have been at 400 because I also had the pool. And when you have a pool, you talk about running it all the time.
Yeah, you have that real in-ground boy. I just have the above ground ones you can buy at Walmart. So not as much of a power drain, luckily.
Dude, if I could give some sage advice to any human out there, never install an in-ground pool. You are begging for maintenance, a lot of money, a lot of operating, a lot of bullshit to keep it up. It's just don't do it. I'm just saying. Everyone's like, I love pools. No, you don't. You don't love them when you have to operate them. You love going to them. That's the difference. Don't do it.
Yep, correct. I love going to Bryce.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved it before when I didn't have to do this shit. But, it is what it is.
Now you're the mans of the house. Fuck you.
All right, everyone. So we are back. A little technical difficulty. I did have to share this picture of Jim that froze on his face because it's pretty great.
Good. Wonderful.
But yeah, no. What I was saying is, I am happy.
Goddamn stuttering John over here. Whenever you pause on my face, God.
I am happy you're getting through Postal 2. And I did, honestly, what I was getting at was that I remembered we recorded for Toilets in Wonderland. So I'm going to do my best to push that out. I'm hoping this week's not going to be crazy with my work.
Wait, did you forget we did that whole review?
I fully forgot, Jim. With all the footage we had of shit, I think it just got buried. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Because I was going through. I was like, fuck, when are we going to do our next review? And I was like, oh, yeah, we got that. So, yeah, you can tell how crazy it's been for us. But no, I'm happy. Like I said, you're getting Postal 2 out of the way. And then, obviously, we'll dip into what was the next one? I remember you told me it's that 8-bit game. Side-scrolling.
Yeah, I have to look into it. I forget offhand.
But
the Mega Man X throwback one. Yeah.
Yeah. What questions we got this week, dude?
Patreon.com/DrinkABeerandPlayAGame. Where for as little as $2 a month, you can ask a question that we will answer on each and every single episode of this Power Hour podcast. And I had it up before, and then all my tech went to fucking shit. So, I mean, it was from Todd Howard Sucks. I do vaguely remember what the question was, so this won't be word for word, unfortunately. But basically, he was talking about office parties and getting gifts from your work. And he was saying how, 1 year, he just got, this horrifically... It was they gave everyone, a 2 gigabyte thumb drive and shit like that. And his question was, what was the worst, basically, work gifts that we ever got, if we ever got them at all? And he's like, and if that question doesn't apply to you guys, then how Jover is it?
Yeah, at my current job, no, you don't get gifts. I mean, you're lucky if you even get the standard pizza party. That's just not a thing we do. Of all the places I worked, I never worked at a place that got really cool stuff. So, yeah, I did an internship, or what we called it as a co-op, from our days in college, and one of my contractors, he actually gave me a really badass laser etched beer mug that had the Drexel logo on it. So that was cool, but once again, it was nothing to do with my actual work. So yeah, I can't really can't say much to that. What about you, Chambers?
Yeah. We at my job we don't get gifts from the company. We get we'll do like a Pollyanna, like the work Christmas party, that kind of thing. So, besides, I mean, every once in a while they'll give me like some shirts, or they'll have new jackets, so they'll go around giving everyone a new jacket. I've actually used the one. It's like an LL Bean is like my main winter jacket for like the last 10 years now. So it is nice when you don't have to go out there and spend the money on that crap.
Yeah. I mean, Jim, you did have a pretty sweet shirt from the post office.
The post office did hook me up. Not only did they give me a great shirt, I took like 8 of them. So that was my wardrobe for like 3 years.
I'm still
how did Jimmy not get laid in college? Wonder of wonders. I think no, the last surviving, they're all gone now. I think I kept the one that I was in that one car accident with when it flipped over, but I don't even know if I still have that anymore. I think I just like disintegrated.
I think what gets me mad about that is the amount of stupid shit you do collect, and the thing that basically defined you in college, you got rid of, like those shirts.
They all fell apart because I wore them so goddamn much. It wasn't for lack of love, Brian. You know how you yell at me for having these walls of plastic that I never use? Well, that was the one goddamn thing that I use, and oh, did I use it?
you got good mileage out of it. Oh, fuck. And yeah, as far as his other comment, yeah, November's gonna be interesting, Jim. I'm gonna say that.
What are you talking about? You have bumbling grandpa who can't talk versus a guy who fist bumped behind the American flag after he got shot. Man, the optics sure are something right now, aren't they? The only thing I'll say on that is like, we've been through these same people for so long now. Like, everyone already knows who they're gonna vote for. Like, I'd be shocked if there is any kind of moderate out there anymore. Like, the Trump side will probably just get like strengthened to come out in numbers, and the left is arguing about whether Joe or shouldn't be there. So, I mean, in the end, it's definitely going to help Trump. It's going to rally the troops, but I don't think it's going to get anyone on his side who already doesn't like him.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, it's the same bullshit we've been through for the last, well, this will be 3 elections in a row with this. So,
Can we
no one should be surprised.
Someone different under the age of 90, for fuck's sake.
Jim, run.
I will goddamn run.
You have to go against Mr. Beast.
I can't promise much, but I will promise. Oh man, his dick is so big. I have no chance against him.
Damn it, Jim.
It's like going against Lyndon B. Johnson over here. It's impossible.
Thank you guys for the questions. We love the support.
Thanks, everybody. Keep an eye out for those reviews coming soon.
Jim, you never disappoint. Much like your former favorite YouTube star, Stuttering Craig.
Fucking. So, for anyone out there who doesn't know, Stuttering Craig was one half of the men, him and Handsome Tom. They started Screw Attack damn near 20 years ago. And in the early internet days, that was the fucking one of the go-to places for anything gaming related. News, videos, trailers, like the Angry Video Game Nerd basically got his start on there. So, yeah, Screw Attack's long gone at this point, and he's done some other ventures that have not really worked out for the most part. He runs his own podcast now called the Side Scrollers. Yeah. And it started as a very general gaming podcast. It was pretty boring. And then, which is funny coming from me. And then it eventually like peered into the political realm. He's very right-wing. Can't even say that. Right-wingy. He hangs out a lot with the Friday Night Tights crew and all those guys. So, take his politics as you will. But, Bri, he's taking it back for the gamers. He's doing it for us, Bri. The wokies have gone too far, and the institution, the prized institution of video game award shows needs to be taken back. And he is the man who is promising to do just that.
we talked about this when he first announced it in March or whatever, and I remember we're like, this will probably go nowhere. And yeah, he's doubling down with a whole bunch of here's a little plan, and here's even a pricing model that is, as he put it, for reference against the Grammys, Emmys, and Oscars. Where for those you got to pay. For Grammys, it's $150 a year. For Emmys, it's $200 a year, and Oscars, it's $450 a year. But the real Game Awards, Jim, it's only $30 a year. So you'd be a fool not to do it. We're not a real gamer.
Exactly. Or you can spend $150 to attend a future show. Or, Brian, you can be LEET, 1337, LEET, Gamer Talk, Brian. One of us. And you can nominate, and you are listed as a sponsor of a future event. Who could say no? Who could look at this and go, this is anything but, this is just pure legit. I have to do it. I have to take it back for the gamers. The wokies have to be taught a lesson, Brian.
So, well,
and it's called the Real Game Awards, by the way.
Yeah. And here's the deal. I like most people, I used to really enjoy Screw Attack back in the day. I liked their top tens. I liked the Death Battle. Liked it all. And then, like most people, probably just stopped watching at some point. I always was like, oh, whatever happened to those guys? When you told me the other day, like, this is what's... Of all the people I would expect to go the route they did, I would not have expected to be Stuttering Craig. Now, I also am infamous for not knowing a goddamn thing about folks from YouTube or creators. But then I did a little deep dive in his Twitter and his Side Scrollers channel, and yeah, the dude's down a rabbit hole. I'll say that. Here's the deal. The only part of this, if you do devil's advocate, is he's not wrong that we know Game Awards are horseshit, which we've covered and talked about many times. You're like, all right, what's it going to be? They get a little goofy, but how many people? I think he's up to 300 people already supporting this thing, if not more. Like, how many people total do you think are actually going to send this dude money?
It can't. 300's almost... Come on, people. But yeah, 300 people-ish so far. I mean, I can see it maybe getting 1,000. There's a lot of angry internet people out there who will throw money at something just to support the cause, that kind of deal. Also, like his video game, his $30 buy-in thing. Like, yes, these major institutions do make people charge people for this, but there's also a lot of people who get grandfathered in, and once you're a winner, you can vote and shit like that. And it's not like they just accept any random person to be like a judge for these major award shows too, just because they throw money at them. So, like, his reasoning is bullshit. Like what are you gonna have in a non-woke Game Award show? Like, Game Award shows are already dumb as shit. They're just commercials. That's all they are, and it's for the industry to jerk itself off. Like, the Game Awards don't suck because they're woke. The Game Awards suck because they're fucking stupid. That's why they suck. Like, you're not fixing a problem that was there in the first place. I don't get it. What are you gonna say? Like, award for the game with the least black people in it? Like, what are the awards gonna be? How are you gonna make it not woke?
It's probably more based on the selections of games.
Gay Bash of the Year, and the award goes to.
Once again, if you watch any of his content, you know, I'm shocked. It is. I just checked again. It is over 300 people at this point that have supported it. So, you know what? If they want to be in their bubble and vote on things and whatever, have fun. Whatever. Like it is what it is, right? Not that I feel that any game award matters. Like, I feel the same way I've said many times about like the Oscars. Like, honestly, the past 20 years, you could probably list off Oscar like actual winners, and I guarantee you most people walking around haven't seen those movies.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's the same deal with some of these game awards. Now, sometimes they've gotten them kind of right, and other times they're like, the fuck? Like, seriously? That's gonna beat this? I don't care if you call it woke, an agenda, or whatever, political. Like, there's sometimes you see there's a clear meaning behind picks. with the Game Awards, and it's like I don't care. Like I don't base my purchases on that shit anyway,
Right.
and it doesn't matter at the end of the day. And if you're like somebody who's mad because your game didn't win Game of the Year, I don't know what to tell you, man.
Like,
Don't be mad.
Alex Jones's game has to win Game of the Year, right? Like, if it's going to win anywhere, it's got to be the man who's taking down the globalists.
What was that game called again?
Oh, fuck, I forget. No.
Fuck that. Hey, say what you want. That trailer got you hyped.
Oh, it did.
Him just screaming and then just...
Look, if it wasn't $20 goddamn, I'd have dabbled.
You think it's... Wait, didn't we check? Is it not available on Steam?
Yeah, it was not available on Steam. You could only get it through, like, AlexJonesTheGame.com or something like that.
You goddamn know. If that thing was $1 or 50 cents on Steam, you'd get it in a heartbeat.
Oh, NWO Wars. And it actually is on Steam. Oh,
is it really?
Wait, is it discounted? Is it heavily discounted right now? Is the Steam summer sale... Oh, God, it's still $17.76. Even the Steam summer sale cannot help Alex Jones and his game out.
I mean,
the government did just repossess his entire studio, so I guess he needs every penny he can get right now.
But yeah, Jim, I mean, it actually is kind of good we're talking about this because we'll touch on something a little bit later. But I think definitively any type of ranking of games in general, any type of awards associated with games, it's all bullshit. So yes, anyone who like the real Game Awards. Now here's the thing: could it be like? Wouldn't it be ironic if his like real Game Awards end up having the more like actual fan base picks of what should win games? Like if it actually is just about games and not his agenda with shit.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not going to be just about games, though.
Oh, of course not. You know that. That's what I'm saying. Like that's why.
No, it would be nice.
Stupid.
It would be very nice if, like, say, a bunch of YouTubers got together and just threw money and made like an online award show or something that they live streamed and shit like that. Like, It could be a pretty cool idea. Get a bunch of big names together and all that bull crap. Like, fine. Like, award shows don't matter anyway. Like you said, like they're fun talking points for like people with a podcast like us. You know, It's easy content. It's good arguing. Like, dumb shit like that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Let me ask you. So something like a Game Award.
If Jeff Throw can win Best Metal Album in like, what was it, 88? Something like that? Or like Stray can win Best Indie Game. I actually saw like a really good video today by a channel called Pixel a Day. And she was making the argument about how like the games that win at like the Game Awards for like indie, for like Dan the Diver and Stray are just like basically AAA games with just like with a cheaper budget or shorter. And she's like, well, this sucks. They're not even like showing like real indie games and stuff like that.
Well, that's why I said you always have detractors. But here's my question. If all things were fair, which nothing in life is, and let's say there was a game,
right.
Say there is a definitive Game Awards, and if it is a standard one, would you prefer it still be selected by just strictly quote-unquote experts of game reviews, or just based on popular vote?
It almost have to be like some kind of... Nah, fuck it. Say popular vote. Just open it up to everybody. Fuck it. Who cares? All that matters is the almighty dollar anyway. Yeah. It all comes down to the almighty dollar, and, here's like a game that's really good will spread by word of mouth. So
exactly,
like anything else.
And that's where my mind is. Like,
yeah.
And here's the deal. Like, I can't trust reviewers when part of like them maintaining sites or even content can sometimes be based on they get, what is it called, the press copies of games for free or shit like that. Like, they don't want to bash shit, so there's already like, and I don't care who you hear from. Like, I'll just say, you get people talking, and there's not a camera on. You find out real opinions about shit. And, in front of camera, it's a grift, right? Like, they get sent something for free. You're not going to openly just bash the shit out of that company you're sending you because you don't want to lose your golden ticket. But, yeah, I think the popular vote would be the way to go. And that's why even something like this, stupid as it is, like, the fact that you have to pay to get a vote, then it's like, yeah, the only hardcores that would pay are going to be ones that are already completely aligned in most of their thinking anyway. So it's an echo chamber for itself, and whatever. He's grifting them like the best grifters, I guess.
Yeah, anyone giving him money, good for you. Fuck them. Like, I don't give a shit. That's not my problem.
Jim, what upsets you more? People who give him money or Boogie money?
Ooh. Well, I mean, I guess I got to say Boogie because, I mean, at least Craig might put on an award show where Boogie just can't have cancer when he doesn't have it, so.
Oh, Jim.
Oh, but he's just saving his one bit of privacy he has left. He has sold his entire life to content for money on the internet. He doesn't give a fuck about privacy. He just doesn't have it. Come on. It's like the easiest slam dunk in the world.
I hate that whole circle.
I'm going to run a crypto scram to get $10,000, but I'm not going to take 80 grand from a bunch of YouTubers to show one piece of paper. Oh.
All right, well, let's not become like Stuttering Craig and then just become talking about content creators. Let's talk about games. And we were talking about bullshit prices and everything else going on. The inevitable happened, which it's happened several times already, but Xbox Game Pass now, not only just a price increase, but it's a huge goddamn change to just the way it's going to work out with their new tier. And if you don't already have it and you're not grandfathered in, you might want to jump on it because, they're getting rid of the ability to have day one games, and it's kind of sucks if you just jump on it. I think it's
there's cheaper modes. Yeah, as of September when it's going to do like the changeover.
Yeah.
So basically, as of like late September, the only way you can play Game Pass on a console is if you straight up have Game Pass Ultimate, which is raising in price to $20 a month. And then there's all these other Game Pass like Game Pass Core, which basically took over for what the old Xbox Live Gold was. That's basically going away, especially for consoles if you're not a new user. They're changing the tiers and pricing for Xbox for PC. A lot of these tiers aren't going to have day one games aren't going to have day one games anymore. Like they're like, oh, you still have this extensive backlog, but you're still not having the full experience. So it's either hop on now if you want to stay cheap, or like it's not like people grandfathered into Ultimate are going to like keep their old price. Like that's going to raise no matter what. So I actually think most people probably have Ultimate who do have Game Pass just in general, I'd have to say.
Honestly, yeah. You kind of are. The fact that I'm looking at a cleaner price structure for them. With Ultimate, you get day one releases, PC games, so you can multi-stream, online multiplayer, which is what comes with a game. That's really all you're paying for with Game Pass Core for $10 a month is online multiplayer.
Yeah.
With Ultimate, you also get EA Play, which with all their games, cloud gaming, and cloud gaming. I think that's. I'm trying to figure what the hell the difference is.
Right, learn to read.
No, it doesn't say it. I'm just trying to figure out what they mean by cloud gaming.
It must just mean like we have an article here too. Well, no, that's more streaming than cloud-based, I guess. Or maybe
I think you know what it is. I think there are games you can just straight up download, and then there are ones you just play instantly off the cloud. So that's my guess. That has to be what the cloud gaming is. But yeah, so you either pay $10 for just being able to go online,
or you know what it might be too.
$20.
Sorry to interrupt you. You know what it might be
Yep.
too. Like if I try to play an Xbox Series game on Xbox One, you can kind of do it over cloud, even though it like looks like shit and runs like shit, but you can kind of play it.
Yeah, I mean, here at the end of the day, I think Game Pass Core you still get your like Game Pass access, but with Ultimate. You just open up a significantly larger library. And if you're someone like me who sometimes on my PC, I do Xbox games. And it's like,
Yeah,
damn it. You do get the ability. Now, here's the deal. The price difference from Ultimate, it's going from $17 to $20 a month. It's like everything, right? Like, they're incremental, but it's the same as Netflix. When you go back to that original price of like $6 or whatever it was, and now... I don't even know what Netflix is. Probably $15 or $20 a month.
Yeah, it's close to 20 now, I think.
Everything's going up. That's the economy. So.
Oh boy, capitalism. Love it.
Jim, stop being such a commie.
So, sorry, comrade. I'll do better.
Jim, you expressed your capitalism yesterday.
And how?
You could be a platinum voting member for Stuttering Craig right now.
Oh my God, I could have paid for so many people to vote in the real Game Awards with what I spent yesterday.
I forget. Do you have Game Pass even? Like,
I go in and out. It's like I've barely been using my Xbox, so I stopped paying for it again. But I'll get back to it probably when duty comes around, or if I just wait until I get a new Xbox. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because right now I don't use it enough to justify paying for it, so it's just like,
That makes sense. But yeah, I still
unless I start to play it on a Fire Stick, Brian.
You could. And
Because
Jim, I was gonna say, what new development do we have there?
Yeah, so Xbox in there, they're just pushing Game Pass to everything possible. Certain versions of Fire Sticks now have an Xbox Game Pass app that you can use to stream games just from fucking Fire Stick and to play it off there. So it's almost like Stadia. It's like the evolution of Stadia, basically. So we have an article here from Digital Trends that was given their impressions of working with it. So he did 3 games, Forza, Celeste, and Doom 2016. And he said Forza kind of worked surprisingly well. Celeste definitely felt off because that is a very precision-based platformer. And it didn't look as sharp as it, would natively. And he said Doom was basically a mess.
Yeah, which doesn't shock me. And now here's the deal. There's a million things you can ask. How is the guy's internet? Does he have your, T-Mobile style? Or your Sprint? Does he have a real internet?
Can't argue it tonight with the way it's been working.
The other question I have is, so if you're using a Fire Stick and you're going through your TV, I guess, can you just use whatever random third-party controller and hook it up, or do you?
I have to look. I guess it has to be
Xbox?
it has to be some kind of Bluetooth controller that can talk to the Fire Stick. So I'll have to look into that actually.
Yeah. Because I'm curious too. Like, could the controller also just be a little fucked up? This is one of those things where even if it's rough right now, this is where I do see technology going to, right? Like, more convenient, less hardware, less whatever. Get shit streaming. Like, it won't shock me if it gets to the point where instead of even needing a Fire Stick, it'll be an app on your TV that you automatically just cloud-based. Like, I'm actually shocked they don't just do that. Like, why do you even need a Fire Stick at this point? Like, just do it straight up, strictly an app built in, like you could download for Netflix on your TVs. That honestly, I think, is the future of. You'll still have physical, but I think that's going to be the future for a lot of people. Because it's one less thing to buy, one less thing to hook up, one less whatever. So it's all about convenience.
Yeah, it was funny because when these articles were coming out about it and they announced the Fire Stick shit, there was a lot of discourse on Twitter about people just being like, I don't like this, or, this is the end of days for Xbox, or, Xbox basically confirming that they're out of the console business. And it's like, it doesn't. It's the very obvious trend that they're going to be moving towards, but they're still going to be around for a little while. Obviously they can go back on their word, duh. But they've already said they're still going to be in the console business for a little while longer, so. It's not a proven commodity yet. They have to test the waters with one thing and see, if it's going to be worth trying to move to at this point.
Yeah. Well, Chambers. You're proving the point we just talked about. Sometimes internet fucks up, and I don't know if it could have been the guy's controller, the Fire Stick itself, but I think that's the wave of the future. Whether people want to admit it or not, we just got to course correct with everyone's Wi-Fi being much better, and I guarantee you that is just going to be the gold standard for gaming. And
well, given how my Wi-Fi is working tonight, sure as fuck ain't ever going to be using that thing.
Well, people ain't going to like it, and I think you'll always have collectors, but I do think more convenience will always win out. Hence why the Switch does so well. Convenience wins at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's for goddamn sure.
Yeah. So. But Jim, let's talk about something as unreliable as your Wi-Fi. Let's talk about limited run gaming.
Fuck!
Did you order your router from them? Is that why you're having this issue?
I'd still be waiting for it if it came from them, Brian.
So we've covered every major fuck up they've had, and the latest one is still kind of on the heels of what we talked about previously, but this was a video from video game
Esoterica.
Esoterica. And it's his review of basically the bullshit going through with his
his copy of D that he got the collector's edition. The one that basically, is supposed to play on an actual 3DO, and it doesn't because it's a goddamn burned disc. And so, like, if you never saw his channel before, he's very in-depth into, like, lost hardware, lost software, and, like, working on old shit to make it work. And he's like, yeah, there's so many different factors with, like, a 3DO and all their different lasers, and just, in general, lasers on systems are old. And then if you do, like, replacement lasers, they might not read a CDR. And old, weak lasers won't read a CDR. So the fact that they didn't press it is bullshit. And he goes into how he contacted them, like, 2 months ago, as of the making of this video, which was, like, from last week.
Yep.
And he, like, heard something at very first where they were going, yeah, we're going to fix this issue, and never heard a goddamn thing about it again.
Yeah. I mean, here's the deal. Maybe I'm extra harsh on limited run games.
Bit of a hater.
And I don't have half the experience that Jim does. But regardless of being terrible at delivering on time and all that, you gotta fucking answer people, dude. Like, your customer service needs to be up to snuff. And it's really shitty if they're not answering this guy for over 2 months. Like, there's excuses for why things can be delayed. There's excuses why things can't get shipped out on time. I can buy lots of excuses. I can't buy just not answering a motherfucker's email. I'm sorry. Like, and don't get me wrong, maybe they are swamped with a bunch of shit because of their terrible quality and they just get tons of emails. But still, you hire someone to just fucking answer all day long. That should be their job. And they write scripts, usually, which are apologies for this, especially when it's like redundant emails. But to just not answer, that always rubs me the wrong way. And we've heard, this isn't the first time we've heard about it. So at this point, like, it's just further cemented my opinion of, I'll never buy from them again. Like, they put out cool shit that looks cool, but yeah, I'm done. I'm done with them.
Yeah, like, I'll be honest and say, like, my dealing with their customer service has actually been pretty good for the most part, but this is a very, very, very bad look to not respond, especially to, like, I mean, the guy in Video Game Esoterica kind of says it. He's like, yeah, I'm sure if this was like a PS1 release or, something on the PS4 or like a big name title, they'd get on it right away, but it's kind of a niche game that especially being played on a niche console. So he's like, they're probably just, going to stay silent, take a couple days of bad press and move on because they know no one's going to care after a while. And unfortunately, he's probably right about that. I'm scrolling through their timeline right now, and so far in the past week, no mention of it.
It doesn't surprise me. What it would really take for shit to turn around is much larger content creators to really weigh in and start shitting on them. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. Now, what do you call it? Fucking the new Time Extension, the site that offshooted from Nintendo Life. They did an article basically talking about his video and like the controversy around it. So it is getting some press here and there, but they do need the big names out there to start raising the fuss.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you need a big name that's like, hey, I tried ordering this, and what the fuck? So, just good old unreliable limited run.
Yep. Brad, there's very few things you can rely on, and you can rely on limited run fucking up.
Sure can. You know what? They're reliable in their unreliability, so maybe it's good.
It's on brand, at least.
You're not. You know what, Jim? You're wrong most of the time, but you're not wrong this time.
Hooray! For once. Yes, thank you, Brian. Thank you for that very backhanded compliment. Thank you.
Jim. Pay my bill. All right. Yeah.
I will start a fight.
Now, the thing I want to hit on tonight, and it's something I've been looking into, and our buddies over at Palette Swap, I think it's been about 2 months since they released their video.
Fudge, that madman, doing it all on his own.
It's, yeah, and their video, in what I'm talking about, we have in a link below. They did 100 best games of all time, and it's like 4 hours long. So I'll warn you, it's a long boy.
It is an investment. A lot of these are investments.
But across my thing, I got like from Watch Mojo and Triple Jump and somewhere else. Like I just started seeing in the past week or two, like just 100 best games of all time, 101 best games of all time. I'm like, was there something like going on where why is like everybody all of a sudden doing these 100 best games? And then it drove me down a rabbit hole of, let me look up, like, just typing it in. And there's no new major articles, but there is always a standing list from Metacritic, which has best games of all times. And I'm not going to say I did a perfect amalgamation of the list. And clearly, we're not going through all these. Not even a quarter of these.
Right, I'm sure you're happy with number one.
From which list?
Metacritic.
Oh, Metacritic? Well, it's funny because that's the only one to actually put that there. You know, I'm going to give Fudge all the credit in the world. It's a brave and bold thing to put the original Resident Evil 4 as number one on their list. And spoilers if you want to watch his list, but everybody knows you're going to skip to the end and then pick where you want. But we've talked about lists plenty of times. I think we've even covered some of the best previously. But it really did get me thinking is, you know, when you make a list like this, it's always weird, one, to make a list because who knows what games are going to come out next year, in 5 years, in 10 years. So the list becomes obsolete very quickly, depending on when you do it. And one of the things, I don't know if you've ever watched like Watch Mojo's or their video game one, like Mojo Plays, I believe it's called. They were honestly probably one of the, I would call, more fair across time because they included things like the original Pong, Space Invaders, Tetris, things that like they tried to capture games that were like historically important. And I guess that always comes down to, like, if you were going to make a list, say you and I were going to make a list of 100 greatest games, like, the criteria, number one, is insane. Because if you take historical context into it, then it's like you're already going to just off the bat have at least, let's say, 50 staples you know has to be in that list.
Right.
And then there might be some wiggle room for getting your personal opinion in there, but if you're trying to make it as objective as possible, you know you got to throw some shit in there. Even if you don't like it, you got to acknowledge, like, yeah, it's probably going to be in there. But all these lists had things like Baldur's Gate 3, like, pretty high on all their lists. And that's a brand new goddamn game. And not denying it could be fun, but how much of that is it's the new shiny toy for them, you know? And none of these lists, well, from what I could see, I'll be honest, I didn't go through all 4 hours. I skipped around a little bit. None of them had Streets of Rage 2. None of them had major beat 'em ups. Like, you know, but all the regulars hit 'em up. The Sonic games, the Super Mario games, Legend of Zeldas.
Streets of Rage 2 should be on there before 90% of fucking Sonic games, by the way.
Well, I mean, yes, they should. I think in every list, Portal 2 was way too high. I also think I was shocked at how many lists put GTA 4 instead of GTA 5, which GTA 4 is the most boring of all the fucking ones. Like, I don't know. Like, it just got my mind spinning on it. And knowing that there's no fair way to ever do a top 100 list, I wanted to see what your thoughts would be if you decided to do a top 100 list. And instead of actually correctly ranking them, let's say, break it down into 10 categories of the 10 best of the 10 major categories of gaming. So
I mean, are you
let's
asking
say
what my games would be, or what my categories would be, or
well,
if you think
no.
that's
So
a good
I want to
idea?
see. I want to see where you correct me where I talk about categories for gaming, because that even got me then thinking. Well, fuck. What are like the 10 major categories of gaming? So one, I would put sports, and you can add in racing into sports and wrestling and all that.
Yeah.
Just throw it all together. RPGs, your favorite. Just generic action game to cover a wide variety. I'd put platformer as its own.
Oh yeah.
Fighting games, and you may need to put beat 'em up into fighting games, but fighting games definitely deserves its own. FPS, simulation, puzzle, survival horror, because I got to put that in there. And then I just left a generic one for open world. But as like,
I mean,
10
survival
major
horror, you could just
categories-
say horror.
Well, yeah, you could just say horror.
And even
But,
that, like, that could be like 1,000 other goddamn things that you could just throw a horror game in there, maybe.
You could, but I feel like that's unique enough.
That's
one.
a bit of your bias showing, putting horror in there as a top 10 category.
Here's the deal. How else would you really? You wouldn't. I would never rank like Silent Hill 2 as an action game. I wouldn't rank it as an RPG. I wouldn't rank it as. So what else could you rank it as?
Yeah, adventure.
Yeah, but there's no adventure category.
Adventure should be there before horror. Adventure's a real category.
Well, we have action.
Right.
Yeah.
But not
I'm
every
saying
adventure game's full of action.
Like what?
Like,
go ahead, name one.
Fine, I'll say fucking Stupid Stray. Like, you can say that's an adventure game, you could say that's a platforming game.
Wouldn't that be an open world?
I don't think that... Is that open world?
I think it is.
I don't think it is.
I mean,
maybe,
granted,
I don't know.
neither of us have actually played it.
Yeah.
But even if you put a miscellaneous category to cover all the ones that aren't, none of these lists also had a single sports title other than Wii Sports on them.
Well, of course not, because they're, not to throw shade at anyone, but everyone always just poo-poo sports games. But
even when people would poo-poo them, like, can't they still acknowledge, like, whether you don't like this more simulation-y ones, NBA Jam, Tecmo Super, like, all these games, like, you can't just acknowledge they're fun, or even a wrestling game. The fact that none of them had wrestling games on any of them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That always definitively, like, bothers me.
I wonder if that's them trying to avoid an argument for someone being like, you put this shitty sports game on here and you didn't have, fucking blah-de-blah-de-blah.
They might. I mean, I could see that argument too. But, I mean, if you tried to make an objective list, how would you organize it? Like, well, if you wanted to see a list that didn't drive you up the wall, that you could at least appreciate and understand the logic behind it, what would be the parameters?
I mean, to try and make it as objective as possible, because no matter what, everyone's going to throw their biases into everything. Like, objective as a term is basically impossible when it comes to this shit. But if I would just say, if I was going to put a list together, it would be historical. It'd have to be like historical and like Metacritic, I guess, or like reception or something like that, reviews, general consensus.
So when you think of best games of all time,
like Metacritic,
historical,
like Metacritic has what do you call it? Super Mario Galaxy 2 is like number 5, and there's a lot of people who are like, I mean, it's technically slightly better gameplay wise, but it's such it didn't have the story or the heart or even as like much creativity as Super Mario Galaxy 1. So like if you ask people for like what they feel should be on there, that would be so far down the goddamn ladder and not like number 5. Or again, Grand Theft Auto 4 being number 3 on here. One that everyone just goes like you said,
Galaxy
is boring.
is number 4.
But
so
I'm fine with that. Sure.
But to your point, yeah, Grand Theft Auto 4 being number 3 on here. I also think if you do a list like this, I feel like to really spread out the games, you keep it limited to 1 per franchise. As impossible as that could be. Like, because, if you do that, What are you picking for Legend of Zelda? What are you picking for Super Mario? What are you picking? Like, the
Yeah.
list goes on and on for that. But they do seem to stick to that for most things, except for like Mario and Legend of Zelda. I feel like are these two like animals where like no one's willing to just limit it to one choice from either franchise.
I mean, it's tough too, especially with Mario because you have so many different kind of games too.
I mean, and that's well, so like Mario RPG is obviously I feel like so different, but then you could just go into is it 2D versus 3D? At least limit it to one 2D, one 3D game. Maybe you go that way and
Right.
try and limit it. Yeah, I don't know. Like even on Metacritic, they have Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 on here. I don't even know where they have 2, but like whenever you ask most people, 2 is the favorite.
Right.
So I don't know. When you see these lists, what is your first thing? Do you go right to the first, or do you actually sometimes scroll through and watch them all?
I'll dick around for like the first 10. I'll sit through, and then I'll go to the top 10, and then I'll just kind of see what's in the middle.
Do you go searching for a specific? So what is your go-to list of games that you're searching just to see if they're even on there? Because I'm sure you had that list.
I mean, like Streets of Rage and Star Fox, obviously, and like
That's another one. Star Fox wasn't on at least 3 of the lists.
yep, just bullshit. But I'm sure some dumbass RPG where all you do is scroll through menus is on there. Yeah, but the world building is so squeaky. Shut up. Play a game where something happens. God damn it. One story, read a book.
To give our buddy Fudge and Palette Swap some hell. I'm sorry. In your top 10, you can't have 2 FromSoft games. You can't have Dark Souls and Bloodborne in your top 10. You can't. I understand some people are going to put them throughout their entire list, but your top 10 is already now taken up by 2 From Software games. I call foul.
I mean, I think he does acknowledge that too, but he's always like, hey, it's my list, so go fuck yourself, basically.
Yeah. I mean, he also has, 2 Legend of Zelda games. I mean, once again, I get it, but that's why, like, I'm this. So, it's funny. I do look for Streets of Rage 2 because I think it deserves to be on there. I usually look for if they're going to have anything other than Street Fighter 2 as a fighting game.
Yep.
And I don't count Smash Brothers, which most lists actually did usually have one of the Mortal Kombats. Of course, I look for Resident Evil, and in almost every case, it's always Resident Evil 4 still, the original. I'm shocked they're still not willing to put the remake on there.
It's
which
the most
did that
accessible.
Did that just not get as good of reviews? I thought it got really good reviews.
It got good reviews, but like it came out when there was like a lot of Resident Evil fatigue going on at that point. Like, I mean, when we say 4 saved the franchise, it really did save the franchise.
Oh, yeah. No, I know. I also tend to look... You know what? Here's the deal. I do like that all of them acknowledge in all of their top 10s, they have Minecraft. Some people might hate on that, but I'm like, it completely deserves to be there.
Yeah, it's like one of the biggest games of all time. It has to be there.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to piss people off, but like Fortnite should be there. Like...
And you know what? The number of lists that didn't have it actually shocked me. I'm like, even though you and I are obviously, I'm ride or die for PUBG, regardless of my son now sucking me into Fortnite. Like, when you think Battle Royale, you think Fortnite.
Right.
And yes, Call of Duty it had a time where its Battle Royale actually had more players than Fortnite, but Fortnite still, at the end of the day, is what people think of for Battle Royale. It's like, it defined a whole fucking, like, it's the shining example of the genre. Like, how can you not have that in?
Yeah, it's like what Mario is to platformers. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, that is crazy. To not have a single simulation racing game, regardless if people like it, is insane to me too.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. Because,
Like,
I mean, like, those sell pretty well, too, and they're critically acclaimed for the most part.
Yeah.
So, like, the fact that, like, a lot of these won't have a Gran Turismo on there or a Forza.
But,
like,
one of them.
Burnout's a little more arcadey, but even having arcadey racing games on there, like, they're super fun and beloved.
Yeah, I think that, you know what?
Like, you got to have...
It's gotten...
Yep, sorry,
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you got to have, like, a Burnout or, like, Outrun or something like that. Like, one of those definitely deserves to be on there.
And I feel like a lot of the list won't acknowledge Super Mario 3. And maybe it's because they have enough other Super Mario games that maybe they don't want too many titles from the franchise. But it's like, if
It's
you're gonna
always
do
the fight
top,
between that World 64 and like Galaxy for whatever Mario title they're going to put on there. Especially
Yeah,
if they only keep it to one.
Super Mario 64 was the number one on the Watch Mojo list. It was number 5 or 6 on Fudge's list, and that seemed to be the one that won out more consistently. Which, it is what it is.
And I mean,
But,
that's throwing historical thing in there too because it was so revolutionary
yeah.
at the time.
Exactly. But when you talk historic, then do you put things like Pong, Space Invaders, shit like that? So do they automatically, just so because of their age, should they be defaulted into their 80 to 100 spot?
I think that's fair. Like,
Yeah.
you're not going to have a lot of fun playing Pong, but it's fucking Pong. Like, it started this whole goddamn thing, basically. And yes, I know there were games before Pong, shut up. But yes, I mean, for games that really broke out into the, the ether, like Pong was that. Same with Space Invaders, same with Pac-Man. Like, they all got to be on there.
Pac-Man's another one that didn't make almost any of the
Which
lists.
is insane.
Yeah. Well, what I am happy to see, and I always believe, see if you agree, Tetris should be at least 20 or below.
Oh, yeah, by far.
Yeah. And in a lot of lists, it was pretty high. In some of them, it was another one completely ignored. And it's, you see that, and then, you know me, every time we've gone through these lists, as soon as I see something above something else, I'd start judging the list way more harshly.
Oh, yeah.
How the fuck do you put this above? I still say Skyrim, regardless how you feel, should be in the top 20. Kind of regardless. And some of these lists, it's they'll put shit I guess depending on how you feel, Uncharted 2 above Skyrim. And I think that's insane.
No.
Yeah. Undertale, I feel like, is overrated. And I played it and liked it. And I still think how high it gets on all these lists, I'm like, it's too much. It's too high.
The cult of personality around that game is pretty insane. I've never played it yet. I'd like to eventually one day, but it's just weird how it what was it, 2015, 2016, it just hit that spot with the Zoomers and just became their generational game.
It really did. And that's what you're seeing on all these lists, and it's a good game.
It's like what people say about it, they almost say with that what people said about Earthbound, just way more people played Undertale than played Earthbound, that kind of deal.
Yeah. Did you ever play any of the Rayman games?
A little bit. They're good.
Because
Legends and Origins are really good.
Legends and Origins showed up on most of the lists. It's a one I've always wanted to play, and I don't have reason not to, other than I just never got around to it. But I always see that on the list, and it kind of makes me go, shit.
Yeah, they're really good. They just never keep my attention for too long. You play a couple levels, and you're like, I get the idea.
Yeah. But yeah, no, Undertale I feel is always overrated on these lists. What's your favorite Mass Effect?
That's tough. I'm actually gonna go 3, which I know everyone puts 2.
I was gonna say 2 is the one that gets put on every list, and
I think 2 is technically the best one. 2 is technically the best one, but I think it had the weakest main enemy. You can't go away from the Reapers. The Reapers are the coolest enemy and one of the coolest enemies ever. And have the progenitors, it's okay.
Yeah. So then,
even though it is a better game, every other way wise.
Which Pokemon would you put on?
Dude, I haven't played a Pokemon since Soul Silver, so I would put Soul Silver just of the very limited ones I've played, but I couldn't tell you what the best one is.
A lot of them put Gold and Silver on there.
Oh, well, look at me. I mean, Silver's super cool because I'm spoiler for a 25-year-old game. When you beat a certain point in the game, you actually go through the entire world of Kanto again from 1. So it's almost like two
Oh,
games
shit.
in one. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
wild how much is in that.
What are your feelings on games like? I'm trying to see the other ones. I wrote it all down. Old ass me on like pen and paper. I feel like a game that I saw time and time again. I think it's worthy of it. Is BioShock being in top 20s always?
You know what? I'm fine with BioShock just being on the list. I don't really care where it is, but as long as it's on the list, I'm fine with that.
Oh, really? You don't think it? So you're not particularly.
I really liked it. Don't get me wrong. Like I did think the last like third of the game was just like padding, so I did have a problem with that. But
Okay.
yeah, no, but I really enjoyed it. I mean, it kind of falls off a cliff after the whole Andrew Ryan part, and then you're just like, well, what else am I doing here?
Yeah. What about Doom?
That's
Is
got to be
that
top 20.
default? Yeah, I was gonna say that should always be top 20.
Whether
It's
it's
funny.
whether it's 16 or the original, I don't care which one you pick. Like that's got to be top 20.
Well, that's a funny thing is, almost none of them had the 16. They only had the original. And I feel like
I get
once
it.
again, I would only get it if there wasn't so many fucking duplicates of other games on a majority of these lists. Where I'm like, that's a game where I think it justifies having two entries from a franchise. If you're already breaking the rule of having more than one per franchise, that's one where I'm like, it's different enough.
Oh
You
yeah, I
can-
completely agree.
if you were I am it warms my heart that so many of these lists acknowledge Left 4 Dead 2
Yes, that is always good to see.
and Titanfall 2.
Yes.
I feel like there's been a not a resurgence, but a love for Titanfall 2 that you and I have been, I feel like, screaming about and saying how fucking underrated and great that game is. And it's funny because all these reviewers I watch, I guess the servers are completely dead because they're like, yeah, I only got to play the campaign. I don't get to do it online. But it got me thinking. I'm like, fuck.
It bombed so hard that yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the servers are long dead.
Yeah. What about Sims 2? Like it was always between like Sims 2 and Sims 4 it seemed like, but they snubbed Sim City, which I feel like is a little bit of a it's a little bit of a penalty, like because regardless, even if you liked it or didn't like it, you can't downplay simulation games and say it wasn't huge.
Oh yeah. No, like I've actually never played The Sims, and I know The Sims was like gigantic. So
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if they're gonna put one in there, it makes sense just from success wise, but influential wise, like SimCity 2000 has to be like fucking way up there.
Yeah. Oh, dude, anytime I would look at any of these lists, the thing that breaks my heart is there's never a single Total War game, not even fucking Rome,
Which is
like
weird.
revolutionized 4X and that whole style. There was no StarCraft. There was no Age of Empires.
Bullshit.
Like, I'm like, how do you not have a single RTS. on there? Like,
Yeah.
that's insane to me. This might be controversial. Does a Crash Bandicoot belong on that list?
I guess. I never played them enough to really care. Either way, I know it's got its hardcore fans, but like what is it like Crash 2? I guess they would put on there.
A lot of them put
Or 3?
Warped on there.
Okay, I think that's 3. I guess.
Yeah, granted they're usually pretty high on the list. I'll say that. Though,
Yeah.
it's kind of the same as like that in the Spyro games, Spyro or whatever.
Yeah.
Speaking of, so we talked about the fact that wrestling games always get snubbed. But if you had to put one on there, do you go 64? Do you go SmackDown? Like,
I think you have to go Here Comes the Pain. I think that's basically considered like the best one. Either that or whatever the best Fire Pro is. You're either going arcadey with Here Comes the Pain or simulation with Fire Pro. You got to pick one of them.
yeah. And if you were gonna do let's say 3 sports games, you got to put only 3, meaning like actual, not wrestling or racing, but 3 sports games. What are you putting on there?
NBA Jam, NHL 94, and NFL Blitz, I guess.
Putting that over Tecmo Super Bowl?
That's a tough one. I would rather
I mean,
play Blitz, but
yeah, you did suck at Tecmo Super Bowl. I whooped you in that in Tecmo.
regardless.
Or do you put like whatever? What was it? Madden '93. That was about. It was.
Madden 93 was a big one because that was like
Yeah.
a whole engine that they based a shitload of stuff off of for years.
I still don't get the snubbing of sports games. Like it still makes no sense because of how much money that shit
Because of
pulls
the
in.
dirty casuals.
You'll be
You've
happy
never
to
had
hear.
you've never had your life touched by a story in a sports game.
Damn it. You'll be happy to hear that most of these fucking lists decide to choose of the Fallout games New Vegas.
Yeah. It does. It just does everything right.
Meh. 4 is better.
I don't care about the story in 4 at all. As I was going through the actual story, I'm like, man, like the side questing is so much more fun than anything with the main campaign in this.
Yeah, but
None of the factions are interesting.
You know what it is also? I think old Jimmy, when you were still into games more, that was a time. I think if Jimmy of today was playing Fallout New Vegas, you wouldn't give a shit about it either.
I mean, maybe. Tough to say.
But I also think like if you're,
But it's just weird how like your actions have like no consequence in 4. That's my biggest thing.
What do you mean?
Like let's, I guess, slight spoiler. Like in the first area, like you can keep pumping that old lady with drugs to get like her visions and tell you shit, and then she kills over and dies. And then all you get is a thing in the top corner saying this guy disliked that. But it's not like they stop talking to you for doing that. They don't stop giving you missions or helping you through the main story for doing that. They just say they dislike that.
Ah, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. I don't know. I think if you're going to go, since this is semi-historic, I think you got to go with 3 as the one that changed the game for Fallouts. I mean, I know it had its fans before, but the engine, the change up, like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely more of a niche game. Like they were very tough to go back to. Like, they are very tough. But yeah, historical, you could put the Fallouts in there, but even then, I'm like, eh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it would be a flip-flop between 3 and New Vegas. Either one on there, I'd be fine.
If you now obviously none of these lists have pinball games, but if Jimmy
not.
Wimmy was gonna put a
Devil's
single
Crush.
pinball game, Devil's Crush, okay, is that the one that there was also a remake on the Xbox? I think you introduced me to. Was that pinball game I was playing for a while? There was a pinball game you.
Demon's Tilt was like a spiritual successor. Yeah.
Okay, that's the one I was playing. Okay.
Yeah. Which that's really good too. Like, if someone put a pinball game, put Demon's Tilt, I'd be like, all right, I can see that. But no, I think Devil's Crush is the one you got to put on there.
Should something like what is it called? Fuck, it's the bar game Golden Tee. Is it?
I think Golden Tee should be on there. It's ubiquitous.
Is that on home consoles?
I don't know. I don't really think so. Like, I have a plug and play of it with like the ball controller, but I don't think it ever really had a home port.
So maybe that's the only way I would say I get why that wouldn't go on there. There's obviously no golf games, which as someone who hates golf, I still think it's crazy because I know Tiger Woods golf sold like fucking hotcakes.
Oh
And
yeah.
I don't know which one sold the best, but I know like that was some shit my brother and Ronnie used to play. Like,
Or even if you put like a one of the Hot Shots golfs on there, or Everybody's Golf in Japan as it's known, like, yeah, I could see one of those being on there. But then again, if you put like a Golden Tee on there, do you put like Cabela's on there too? Since like there's always a Cabela's machine at a bar and shit like that.
Well, then you throw in Time Crisis and.
I mean, I think Time Crisis should be there no matter what.
Well, actually, that's another great example. Not a single House of the Dead on any of them.
That's bullshit.
You know, yeah, it begs the question. Like when you make these lists,
You know what these lists always turn into? It's always fucking platformers and RPGs. That's what it really always comes down to.
That's honestly, like, I'm looking at the list as we're talking, and I'm like, yeah. And you know what? None of them were actually as RPG heavy as I would. Like, okay, here's a game I think you played. You played Celeste, right?
A little bit. I didn't beat it, but yeah.
The fact that it ended up in the 60s range or 50s range on all these lists kind of bugged me. I'm like, I feel like that's too high, and I don't know why that's jerked off as much as it is.
I mean, it's got super tight, super tough platforming, and it had a story that touched a lot of people too. So, and it was also like one of the somewhat earlier games in that retro pixel hard. Like it was after Super Meat Boy, obviously, but I don't know. I think it was right before like there's like that real deluge of all the indie style games like that.
Yeah.
And even then, its story still also kind of sets it apart from the rest.
No, but like, you know what? The thing I'll say is the lists also touch on things like Eternal Darkness.
It's weird that that's on there and like Meat Boy isn't shown on like anything. So that's like the
Meat
difference.
Boy's
The story
not
can
on
do.
a single thing, which is crazy. Honestly, like if you're talking games of all time, once again, people can hate it, but things like Candy Crush,
Yeah,
and Pokemon Go, like
or Clash of Clans.
for mobile games, kind of insane. You're just gonna ignore that whole market.
But yeah, actually, going back to Eternal Darkness, like that was a game I have it. I played through like most of it, and then I kind of went, I'm done here. Like it's a very cool concept.
Did you ever actually beat it?
No, I
I
never
remember
finished
you
it.
playing it in college. That might be one I need to borrow so I can beat, because that's one another one where I look at the price and I go, fuck sake.
Yeah, for the way you
price.
jerk off hard, that'd be interesting to see your take on it.
I remember in college, like you showed me the glitch where, what is it, you have to turn it off or it makes you think your memory card was
Yeah, it
fucked
makes you
up.
think your memory card's corrupted or that your game's broken, like all kinds of shit. It'll fuck with you.
Yeah. Did that ever get released on anything other than GameCube?
No, and that's part of the reason why like it has this like aura around it because it's never been ported anywhere else, and I think like the original developers are all different spots, and it's in like some kind of hell when that
Yeah.
comes to like trying to get someone to sign off on it. So that's one of those ones that might never be re-released. In theory,
Gotcha.
they always do eventually, but
Yeah, and all these lists, they capture shit like Dance Dance Revolution and
I'm
know,
fine
things
with one of them being on there. I'm fine with that.
yeah, I'm fine. I'm actually shocked on how many of these things like World of Warcraft never even come close to touching top 30s.
Yeah, which is weird.
Which is like, yeah, for how big that was, like if I had to make this list, I'd even have to acknowledge like how fucking huge it was. Even if it's not my cup of tea. Like you
Yeah.
gotta be like, give credit where it's fucking due. Come on.
And that it's still reasonably popular 20 years later.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, this just really got me thinking. I love lists because it gets you thinking about this type of shit, but like anything else, it also gets you really wondering, like, what would you put in if you actually had it?
And Brian, the list give you everybody blah blah every January.
Damn it, Jim.
Love you,
Well,
Blade.
you know what's always fun is when we did brackets and stuff, and I would reach out, or we would reach out to some of our friends and people and other creators, and even asking input on like entries in there. Like it was amazing how different some answers would be. Like, oh, you can't have that as the only entry from this franchise, or you gotta have like,
Oh yeah.
yeah. And I know opinions are different, but I kind of feel like there is a general consensus of what you expect to see in every top 100, top 10 list. So that's what I want to see from you guys. What would you leave your personal opinions aside if you're being as objective as possible? What do you guys think should be in a top 10 of any given list, regardless of personal taste? If you're able to separate yourself from there. Like what's a top 10 that historically represents gaming in a good way? There's your homework.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah. But Chambers, how did your cherry bomb treat you?
I mean, it's super tasty. Good thing I only had the two of them because I probably would have killed the whole 4-pack if I brought them out here. Like, it just goes down super smooth. It was, it's not my favorite sour that I've ever had, but it's definitely enjoyable. And I guess if you hate sours, it's a decent one to have because it's a lot lighter on the palate.
Okay. Yeah, the mix Chipho, as I said, strong as shit. Not for the weak of heart, but I switched over to the gingerbread cookie stout from Trogs. So
Ooh.
as you can tell, another winter one. Stout brewed with spices. It's not as spicy as an actual gingerbread cookie, but it has that same flavor. And goddamn, did this make me miss wintertime. Like, just tasting this, I'm like, fuck, I could go for some gingerbread cookies right now. Delicious. So I'm basically done it. Can't recommend it enough. And this one is, well, fuck me, 10.2%. I thought I was picking one with less alcohol.
Wow.
So I'm going to feel good tonight. But yeah, with that, guys, we want to say thank you all so much for listening and watching. If you are watching on YouTube, please make sure you hit that subscription button and hit the notification bell so you can see each time we upload a new short, new video. And if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, hit subscription and leave us a 5-star rating. Even if you want to bash us, we'll read it on each and every one of these Power Hour podcasts. With that, we want to say have a good night, everyone, and cheers.
Cheers, everybody.